Alright, so we're going into game number 2. Whoops, wrong screen. This screen is what we need. So Alundra looks to be the favourite at the moment. He's up by 1 game, hasn't dropped a game all tournament yet. So he's playing really solidly, really consistently. Sorry guys, picture might keep dropping out there for a sec. Anyway, so spawning here on a 4 pond inland. So the game between Happy Smurf versus Sir Majestay, we had a 5 pond. This one we got a 4 pond. Pretty nice. You always end up with 3 fish pools, so 3,000 food in each of these ponds. And player number 1 today, we've got Alundra as our Babylonian blue player, player number 1 in the top side of the map. He's opening with the barracks. We've also got here, it's player number 2 today. And we've got Taz, another little fan favourite of ours, as the bred Egyptian player today. Alundra seems to be the tournament favourite though, yeah, because like I said, up 1-0 in this series, hasn't lost a game yet all tournament. Playing really quite well, and be an interesting series to see either him or Taz up against the Majestay in the final, I think. But especially him versus Majestay, because I think they'll both be playing Babylonian. Although Majestay, when they did play, actually opted to play Egyptian, I believe, or Persian during their round robin games. Meanwhile, Taz, I don't know if he did play against Majestay or not, I can't remember now. My memory is a little bit foggy on that one. But we've got the early barracks here for both players, so it's quite a long rush distance map compared to Equal Footing, where you saw it was basically like this sort of distance to actually get to the second hunt, to get to that first hunt, whereas on this map it's almost double the distance in the rush distance, and there are these lakes in the way, and often, yeah, some quite annoying wolf spawns that you might want to clean up with your scouts if you intend to play like this, or send 2 of your spears at a time to clean them up, and then come down here and set up at the staging ground, because you don't want this to happen. You're going to end up taking a huge chunky out of your first spearman, and your opponent's going to be able to respond in time and try and clean him up cost effectively here. So a single spearman being deciding, do I, don't know, but perhaps Taz should have just sent up all 3 to begin with, because he could have had a really nice fight here, but instead he doesn't have the other 2 to back up this guy at the moment, and so he's not actually able to take this fight. But at the same time, Taz has opted to actually send away these 2 spearmen, so he wants to be able to reapply pressure over the other side of the map, but in the same time it's going to leave him a little bit vulnerable here. He's going to still be down on the spearmen, down at 1 spearman versus, like I said, 3 tankier 60 cost spearmen versus 1 45 cost spearman. So it's a big gap, really. Big population, big stat gap between the units. And so Alundra is going to be able to take... Alundra's sitting there, spearman there a bit too long perhaps, but they're going to be able to take positive trades with that, even with the TC fire 2-1, and forcing a bit of a scattering there of the workers. Taz at the same time unsure of what to do with these guys outside his opponent's base while he tries to defend here as best as possible. Needs to make sure he gets all the villagers either attacking or gets the low villager out. So the spearman not going to be able to get her, but there's a lot of gathering time being interrupted there too. Same time, these 2 just sitting here unscouted. Alundra can't see him yet, but it won't take much. And only 2 spearmen, only 2 Egyptian spearmen at that, quite squishy. Gonna have to be used. Oh, they actually tank, one of them tanking 3 or 4 shots there from the town centre. So he's not going to get a good opportunity to go in here on the wood line. He's going to go for it anyway, but Taz already has a low spear, and the other spear not going to be able to get a lot of value. Is going to be a bit indecisive about what to do with him. Rallying the spearman away though, so he does lock up a bit of build and gather time there, but at the same time Alundra still ahead a little bit in the early game. So 15 villagers to 21. Taz losing a villager there, I think. A little bit slower in terms of the production. Alundra all the way up to 3 ox carts now. So with a gap of 5, that makes him 2 villages ahead overall. And I'll be interested to see whether either player takes to the water, because in Happy Smurf versus Samajesté, Samajesté took 2 lakes, Happy Smurf took none, and it ended up being really crucial because Samajesté just had so much more to push into his opponent with all game long behind that, because you can obviously get the fishing ships out while you're also training villagers up, so you've essentially got a third gatherer production building in play. Alundra perhaps using a bit too many villagers to build that house, but I suppose he wanted to get it up quite quickly there. Going for a garden as well. Probably going to be a bit slow on the town centre, considering he's forcing out these gardens. Doesn't have a lot of wood, not gathering any stone just yet, so Taz might actually get a quicker H2 town centre out at this rate, because he's got a lot more stone, a little bit more wood in the bank, doesn't have to spend money on the bowman, but at the same time, Alundra spending money on the bowman means that Taz is going to have to play catch up on slingers, although they are a bit cheaper on the wood. Axemen coming out now. So more Axemen's not so bad of a play, considering there are more Spearmen coming out from Alundra at this point, so getting Axemen instead of the Spearmen is going to be a big gain for Taz's army heading into these fights with the Spearmen involved, without any Lancers out on the map yet. But the Bowmen there, again, really able to add a lot of value to the Babylonian composition, and without a lot of slingers to back this up from the Egyptian, it makes it a really, really tough fight. Almost unwinnable. I'd say, yeah, pretty much unwinnable. Unless you've got either camels or bowmen, or slingers to deal with the bowmen. Even though you've got the counter infantry and the Babylonians just got these expensive spearmen instead, you're not better off, because you need to be able to get something on these bowmen. There are some slingers coming out now for Taz, and he is working towards his H3, but I mean his H2 town center, but he's got the stone he needs. He really needs to get more wood so he can get this town center up ASAP. Alundra working well towards where he needs to be. I think he's not over gathering too much of anything. He's just going to be a bit later on that town center, but he can afford to be, considering this map control that he's got himself. He's up on the production facilities. He's got a garden out. He's doing pretty well right now. Alundra has a good score lead, chipping off all these outlying units, keeping the bowmen well back here, so he's going to be able to take a good fight. The spearmen going to be able to tank a good amount of damage from these slingers, and the bowmen coming in now, but they are going to get tagged, so one of them falling immediately, and Taz keeping his slingers back well out of this fight as much as he can, sniping another bowman. Going to try and take down another, I think. Oh no, going straight on the infantry. But at the same time, Alundra still has a nice force here. Taz forced back to only having a backline here. So back onto producing spearmen. Back onto producing axemen. Getting some spearmen as well behind it in anticipation of the lancers. Going to get some camels out as well. Alundra up by about 9 population now. And Alundra's actually gone for the water, so this is great for Alundra's economy behind this. Taz perhaps could do with working towards it himself. In fact, he probably really could. Heading over and pinching this lake over here, or heading all the way over here and pinching this far lake. I don't think he's going to be able to get to this one safely. There's bears coming in into the mix as well, so they're going to be really good against the slingers, but they're going to be quite useless against the rest of the composition. But they're a nice throwaway unit if you bank up too much food. And if you get the gardens out well timed, you can often end up in a situation where you're really having to play catch up on your other resources as well, considering you've also got the water on this map. So spending money on bearers when you're already in a leading position, you know, it sort of goes against the whole went ahead, get more ahead ethos, but at the same time, sometimes it can be all you need to really add the beef to your composition to overwhelm your enemy. Right now, Taz actually forcing Alundra to actually have to stack his units up well here, but Alundra doing a good job at doing so, but I think Taz just has... just has too much of a front line for it to really work, because all the bowmen are going down. There's only the one Lancer in the mix, so Alundra actually forced back here, despite some really nice unit micro, stacking his army up really well there. So that was some good control there from both players, focusing down all the targets they needed to. And Alundra making it hard for Taz to do so. And these slingers, they can just watch that sling all day. Anyway, so the town centre for Taz just about finished, but Alundra's not too far behind it. Work accounts 32 to 42. So Alundra, how many ox carts has he got? So he's got 4 ox carts, 5 ox carts, but he's up by 11. And he's also got 2 fishing ships, so realistically he's up by 9. He's up by 8 worker population overall, effectively. So his fishing ships will say 2 to 1. Ox carts obviously count against, so yeah, Alundra's doing well on an economic front. He's got the fishing boats in production, so it means that he can keep making workers while his opponent's only making workers. Look at taking another dock behind this and get really, really far ahead. And saying that Taz gonna go for one of these lakes as well, so Taz better be able to defend this, but he's sent some units here to go and watch to make sure that he can actually take it. But if Alundra picks the right time to come in here, it can make this very hard for Taz to deal with. Alundra, sorry, taking an age tree behind this because he's actually got the resources to be able to do so. Taz trying to sneak some camels up, and in doing so is tipped off about this rush. So this does buy him the time to do what he needs to do, and he actually decides to cancel and maybe try and set one up elsewhere. These 2 camels not going to be able to do a huge amount alone because one of them is really, really low. But it was good intel for Taz because he knows exactly what is parked outside his base by Alundra here. 3 fishing ships and the food upgrade, so perfect saturation there from Alundra. Even splitting the ships up so they're not all going to go, oh, I'm out of fish, over here on the far side, and all get stuck there doing nothing. And Taz does get Silver Age, but Alundra already has it. Already getting some armories, double armories. Taz hasn't got any of his yet, and is going to run out of berries shortly. These camels attempting to travel around the map and join their companions up here, unfortunately being killed, but Taz is going to snipe a nearly finished garden here for Alundra, and that's going to be a little expensive for him actually. Probably about 130, 140 resources gone there. So the Babylonian player taking a bit of a hit, but is still in a comfortable position over his opponent now. Taz doesn't have enough to really deal with the Lancers, I don't think. How many spears? He's only got 4 spears in the mix, so... And he doesn't have any camels here on the front side, I don't think. He's got these camels up here. He can come in and hit this again and really distract Alundra, but... Ooh, the Slingers getting some good shots, but now they're focusing on the spears again, so... He really needs these Slingers to focus on the Slingers, focus on the Bowmen. There are Slingers here for Alundra, and this is going to make it very hard for Taz, because he's going to have to be very good at getting in and out on the enemy range here. And Alundra seems to have the advantage in this fight. There's not much of a front line here for Taz at the moment. There's more units streaming across for Alundra. Good back line here. Taz still not going in just yet. Alundra still up by about 20 population, taking some army upgrades, and Taz forced to go for a fairly defensive fortress right in between his town centres here. Neither player's gone for their age 3 town centre yet, and it looks as though Alundra largely winning out in this fight, but forcing out the fortress, so it's a bit of a resource, 700 resource commitment there by Taz, but Alundra is going to have to back off and pick another angle now. And getting the damage off on the Bowman on the range is good because it is an area damage. So a few of the Babylonian units taking a hit there. And these 2 camels still here for Taz. Could come in and deal a little bit of mischief. These guys are all distance gathering. Taz is crazy. Why would you not just get the storehouse? And this hunt is going to finish up soon. So now the camels do go in. And they are going to get a little bit of damage off, destroying their house, but Alundra has plenty of space to keep adding more units. He's going to be able to respond to this reasonably quickly, I think. He hasn't added mounted archers into the composition yet though, so Camel Riders versus are they champion? They're not champion yet either, so the Lancers not being champion, not being backed up by mounted archers, can't take a fight against too many camels, but in saying that, these spearmen are going to do a mighty fine job at picking off all these camels. It looks like Alundra, the Great Wall of Alundra now. Remember the Great Wall of Dak in, I think it was the 2nd or 3rd week of show matches? Anyway, Taz trying to do some harass now, but he's a bit unsure what to do here. Trying to focus down the stables, but with only 3 units, that's never going to work. He'd be better off trying to focus down a house or just more villages with that number of units. And Alundra ready to go in again, I think. There's a couple of undefended villages there, but Taz doesn't really have the units to be able to defend against this. Oh, he can if he can get some camels out in time, but we'll have to see. He doesn't have anything in production at the moment. He's got enough to be able to throw down some more stables, but it looks as though Alundra might just have too much, and Alundra does have the army upgrade advantage, I think, considering how quickly everything of Taz's is going down right now. And Taz really well walled off there. I think he must have actually forced... Alundra really well walled off. I think he must have forced Taz's camels back or just killed them all, because it seems as though he's alright at home at the moment, and Alundra forcing another defensive fortress out of Taz, but I think it's going to be a bit too little too late. There's not enough food in the bank really for a counter force to pop out here. Alundra has a lot in the bank in response. About 1,000 of each resources except for food, which has got 2,000, so things are looking really well for him at the moment. He's sitting pretty, and he's up by about 100 and he's up by about double his opponent's population now, so Alundra trying to get the damage off. He doesn't really have anything siege oriented at the moment, so it's going to take him a while to actually kill anything here, and focusing town centers is probably not what he needs to do. If he can focus down as many units as possible, focus down the houses and get out, or maybe come over here and pick off these villages, that's really going to be how he shuts down this game fastest. But in saying that, Taz, while Alundra keeps attacking on this flank here, does have a slither of a chance still in this game. He's actually sieged himself up quite well here. Walls off here. Thinks he's still got a bit of a chance to make it back here, but he's throwing away units here, and he can't really afford to at the moment because he's still down by an awful lot of resources. Taz has a total of about 1,000 resources in the bank. Alundra has about 5 or 6,000, about 6,000, so things aren't looking so good for Taz. Alundra doubling up on his walls here, and has that army upgrade advantage, I think, still. Taz, yeah, still hasn't taken any upgrades, and is still yet to get up over 100 population again. Alundra all the way up to 145. Getting some H2 upgrades. Broadhead arrows gonna come in, gonna make these bowmen hit really hard. There's mounted archers now in the mix. So Alundra looking really well, can take a nice defensive market here and be completely safe and secure. Needs a bit more stone though. He's run out of stone trying to throw down this wall here, so he needs to get that wall finished right now. But he's actually, yeah, he's got the stone to be able to do so, but he's going for an offensive fortress. Probably wants to go for another one over here maybe and deny this gold, because that would really be killer. If either of these golds could be denied by Alundra at this stage, the game is basically over. I mean, there is a small chance for Taz if that doesn't happen and Alundra somehow doesn't manage to take a good fight here, but considering Taz has a much smaller army in comparison, Alundra should be able to roll through him at the moment, because there are no army upgrades yet either, and Alundra still has a water advantage over Taz. There's a camel just sitting there chilling, a couple of units just sitting here chilling, but it looks as though this fortress is eventually going to head up. I wonder if Taz can actually see that. Can Taz? Taz can't even see it, so Taz can't actually see the fortress being thrown down. Unluckily for him, if he moved the camel one footstep to there, he'd be able to know for sure, but Alundra doesn't know, Taz doesn't know, so we're full of suspense here, folks. No one tell anybody here. I'm surprised Taz hasn't tried hitting this dock, or tried taking another lake, considering just how big and open the map is overall. And the fortress, only 4 villagers building it, so we'll be here for another week or two while we wait for that one to finish up. The second row of walls finishing up, but oh, there is a gate. I was going to say there's no gate. The camels gonna come in and make themselves known, and this might buy Taz a little bit of time here, but he's still down by quite a bit. Alundra taking an age 4 in the meanwhile, so this is going to mean he's going to be in a perfect position to get all the way up to 200 population, get whatever endgame sort of composition he wants to get. Taz still only in age 3, still only 135 population, 71 villages to 85 for Alundra. So Alundra up by 14 villages. You're going to lose a couple here. I don't know how many ox carts he's got though, so the villager count perhaps isn't that wide overall. And some camels, some villagers are going to fall to these camels, but the age 4 kicking in now. Alundra has a huge amount of units sitting behind this fortress, and now they're going to start moving up because the fortress is finished, so this isn't going to go well for Taz, I don't think. He's got Spearman and Axeman champion, but he just doesn't have the units here. And there is so many bowmen. GG to Alundra, I think we're going to see. There's 3 forts here to defend, but Taz needs to deal damage elsewhere around the map. He has actually sent this little force of spearmen around. And this hasn't been finished up, so Alundra, perhaps I've called things a bit early. Alundra with a fairly, I wouldn't say, I don't know if it's a BM one or just the fact that it's a bit of an insurance policy, because it means that he's got to come and attack through that fortress. So Taz right now having to defend with all of his might. Alundra even getting total war behind this, so 10% damage for all of his units. Taz backing off with this force, so perhaps he's going to try and hit somewhere else, try and get the dock and then work his way through here. I don't know, but Alundra still has a lot in Taz's base, only up to 140, 150 population. Taz all the way up to 110 at the moment. But there is a Palantonon on the way, so the town centre is going to be under a huge amount of pressure, and it's going to be defended from the fortress. So Alundra right now still has a nice amount of units in Taz's base, enough to get this town centre, but this fortress is going to get cleaned up here, I think. Although this fortress of Taz's is still dangerously close to Alundra's forces, and well, there's a good connect from the Palantonons because they are able to deal a nice one-shot on the infantry and deal a little bit of area damage. Not much, but some. But Taz is going to try and defend with everything he's got now, killing the Palantonon, but he's only got spearmen, so, and a couple of axemen in the mix too, so Alundra all the way up to bowmen and mounted archers. And he's actually stutter-stepping his units forward as best as he can. So Alundra is well ahead, I think. Up in age, up 40 population. Taz finally getting a dock, but he's distance gathering with a stack of villages. That's a shitload of villages distance gathering. There is a siege tower in the mix here for the Egyptian player, and Alundra is going to try and wall himself up here. There's some chariot archers coming in too, to try and deal with these lancers and these mounted archers at the same time. But Alundra might have broken Taz here, I think, because that siege tower falling really quick. More production facilities going to fall. GG, well played, and we've got a Taz versus Happy Smurf third place game tomorrow, as well as Alundra versus Her Majesty for our tournament finals, guys. So GG, well played. Give it up to both players. Give it up to everyone who played today and in the tournament. I think everyone's played really, really well. And tomorrow we'll see you guys with, yeah, both the third place game and the grand final game. So GG, well played.